T. Higgins is not spotted at practice today due to a hamstring injury that prevented him from playing in the Bengals opener against the New England Patriots. The Bengals are saying it's day to day, despite the fact that he did not practice. Zach Taylor said he's making good progress. I personally will be a little surprised if T. Higgins is out there playing on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs, which means that the Bengals could be a little shorthanded at wide receiver Sunday, the way they were opening week against New England.
Yeah, goodness, not exactly the way you want to go into a game against the Chiefs. We'll keep an eye on that. Thanks to Adam. Let's continue with the Bengals, by the way. There's been some speculation about the status of Joe Burrow's wrist. You see on his throwing hand there. Of course, it's the injury that cut his season short last year. You can see why people might be curious about it from some of the video there. Joe Burrow met with the media today.
When you come back from injury, you're always trying to keep the joint loose. That's part of ligament injuries. If you don't move it, you're going to lose it. So I'm always moving it around, keeping it loose, keeping my mobility the way that it's supposed to be. So, you know, it's going to continue to happen. I do it at home. I do it here. I do it all the time.
For more, let's bring in ESPN reporter for the Bengals, Ben Baby. Ben, you've been at the practices all summer, all spring. What have you noticed about how Burrow handles his wrist?
Yeah, it's interesting that the cameras picked that up because, quite honestly, it's something that we've seen dating all the way back to minicamp and even maybe a little bit before that. And at some point, I went up and asked Joe during training camp, hey, what's going on with you flexing the wrist? Just like I asked him today in the presser. And the explanation he gave me then was that it's something that he does, like he said, for mobility purposes, but also to help prevent any stiffness or soreness as he continues to work through this injury. And as he said, he does it on a regular basis. And every time that I checked in with him throughout training camp, he told me that the wrist felt good. And I checked with him today again after practice. He told me that it is good. And I also asked him on the side about his grip strength. And he told me that he did not have any issues in that regard. As for the downfield passing attack, we saw the offense did not look as explosive as we're used to seeing. That is something that we did see a lot of throughout training camp and especially in the joint practices. When you go back and you look at his average depth of target in practices in the joint scrimmage with the Indianapolis Colts, that was something that jumped out. The Bengals know they need to be more explosive, and we heard Burrow talk about that today.
Yeah, there are some of these times where people are probably like, golly, let the man live. He can't move his wrist around without all of us talking about it. But that's the beauty and maybe the curse of being a big-time quarterback in the NFL. Thanks to Ben Baby for everything. The latest there in Cincinnati. Dan, we've seen kind of the video evidence of this, but is there anything actually on the film that shows there could be a wrist issue?
No, not on film. I think schematically the Bengals are broken offensively. You know, Ben talks about, well, they know they have to be more explosive. You correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Yeah. I think there's really two ways to be explosive in football. One, you have a freakazoid at wide receiver, Julio Jones, where you could just put him one-on-one and, like, constantly dominate. Or you have to have some form of play-action game. Like, that's the only way to create chunks. Defenses are constantly lining up at two high shells, and all that's happening is they're playing like this dink-and-dunk offense. And you sit there and go, well, he got a 4-yard completion, but that's all you're getting. You know, like, and then I look at one of my big complaints of week one is, and this isn't central to just Cincy, but they're probably the most egregious. The timing of Joe in the gun and him being ready to throw in relation to when the receivers are looking and expecting the ball is like a second off. I think their timing is broken. I think their desire to push the ball downfield is broken. Schematics is my biggest issue, not a wrist.
They also ran the ball well and just didn't continue to give the ball to Zach Moss. They decided to line up in the gun and throw the ball as many times as they did. But I look at his wrist. I mean, he had a 28-yard pass to Jamar Chase over
down the middle of the field.
That was a beautiful pass. I think it had more to do with the fact that Joe Burrow hasn't played a game since November 16th last year. He missed 7 games. You got to get back healthy. And if you ever had a season-ending surgery, that next year, that injury is still lingering. You're in the training room every single day, before practice, after practice. You're still dealing with it. To his point, this has probably just been something that he's used to doing at this point, getting that wrist to where it needs to be. I agree with you. I think it had more to do with their offense. We talked about it before the show. Yeah. There's plays where Jamar Chase looks to be open, and he
doesn't
got
even
to a
look
point
at
where
him
he didn't
sometimes.
even look at him. Now, maybe that had to do with the defense that the Patriots were playing. That was late in the game to the point where maybe he didn't feel comfortable keeping his eyes down the field, but he didn't look the same as what we saw a year ago. But you can't expect him to after missing as many games as he did.
I'm with you, and I think everything you said is spot on. And I think where people start to raise a little bit of an eyebrow is we have a sample size from Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, he's been hurt plenty of times.
Yeah.
He comes back like nothing has ever happened, right? And I didn't see anything in the way that he was playing that pointed to a wrist injury, but it is some of the decisions that he doesn't typically make. You talk about that last drive, Jamar Chase on the out route. Jamar Chase on a 3rd down and long when they got to have it to win. He runs the double move, and he has a flat-footed single high safety. Yeah, he's cheating that way.
This is the 3rd down.
But that's a throw that he makes. And that
I
also
remember
Jamar
the
Chase
Chiefs
makes.
game. Remember we did a double coverage. Cool.
Exactly.
I'm throwing it to him.
And that is the point about Joe Burrow, because we have a sample size, and we see him in those moments late in games, and he takes those risks, and he nails them. So for him not to even consider it, that's more what I point to of well, why isn't he doing that?
I know you got to go. We got to go.
You got thoughts.
All right, it's so tempting. By the way, Jamar Chase has been held under 70 receiving yards in 5 straight games. That's tied for the longest streak in his career. So if he's frustrated, that's probably why. Let's go to the Bears and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, who kind of looked like a rookie week 1. Despite the Chicago win, the defense helped in a big way there. Lots to improve on after the debut. Let's hear from Williams what he said today.
Sometimes I rush my drop a little bit. Not needing to, one specific route that I can think of is Rome when he was, or I think it was a 10-yard route right over the ball, and I rushed my drop and then tried to juice it in there a little bit and missed. I didn't need to. Just trying to hurry up and get the ball to him. Just making sure trusting the drop, trusting the reads and things like that, and getting through them. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that I'm focused on, and then my finishes on my play fakes or anything like that.
All right, so conveniently we're going to break down that Mr. Rome Odunze, but I will say this: I love the fact that he's talking about the pace of my drop, the speed of my drop. So it's really important to understand, Bears fans, there's a difference between inaccurate throws like, oh my gosh, this guy misses, and then maybe a lack of communication or understanding and seeing a defense the same way. There's a miss to Keenan Allen, and then that clip that we just saw, that Mr. Rome Odunze, when Caleb Williams is talking about on 3rd down, you know what, maybe I rushed my drop just a little too much. I think it's really important for everyone to understand how much of the details matter with these plays, okay? So Keenan Allen, all right, he's at the bottom of the screen now, Hawk. I think he's running a choice route, one of the greatest choice route runners that we have in the NFL. When I say choice route, you know this, you're like, all right, he's going to go up to the line of scrimmage, he can sit, he could run in, he could break out. He's really trying to read leverage, and this is just a completion play. Wide receiver, tell me what you're looking at when it comes to your choice route in this offense.
All right, number 1 is coverage recognition. So take it back from me. And the alignment kind of will tell us this. So the things I'm considering, number 1, is this a top hat? And you know what a top hat is.
Yes,
this guy, is he playing this straight up? Like these two and these two? Or is he guarding him and him? Now, what he'll see is this safety is cheating over. So somebody is probably coming, and it's probably going to be the
J-Mac, so as a safety, you're playing a rookie quarterback. Is it about Keenan? Is it about the quarterback? What's it about?
It's about the quarterback. And you saw in both of these coverages, it's almost the same thing. They're rushing 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th rusher. We would almost call this a fire zone. So within that, you have 2 guys that are going to be outside right there. He's a number 2 player. He's a number 2 player over here. And then this guy in the middle is controlled by number 3. So right now, you saw in both of these pictures, they don't show Caleb Williams the entire picture until after the ball snap. So to Hawk's point, he knows it because the safety is lined up over top of the slot.
So they're capped, So Caleb's kind of seeing this coverage change, right? And Keenan's seeing the same thing. Like when I watch Keenan get to that top of that route, he's got vision on a bad guy. And so Keenan's kind of with his body language. And again, this is why week 2, week 3, the nuance of his body saying, I'm going in, but I'm not going in full speed.
Don't get me hit.
And what you're going to see is Caleb's going to drive that ball in there, and Keenan's going, no, I wanted that ball maybe a yard outside more on that choice route. And I think that's really important because to the naked eye, people at home are going, oh my gosh, Caleb Williams stinks. He can't even hit a ball 5 yards downfield. And I'm saying, I think Keenan is doing that boring body language to get into the middle of the field. Now, the ball to Rome Odunze. it's third down, and you're hearing Caleb say, well, the speed of my feet. Now, this is what I see. Again, Caleb Williams is going to stare down the middle of the field. There's another pressure. Then all of a sudden, he's going to let that ball go right now. Now, his body language, Rome's saying, I'm peeking right now. Look where he is on that hash, right? Now, when this ball gets out of his hands, see, I see where he ends up.
Yep.
And he's in between the hash. Quarterback, receiver, whose fault is that?
So this is a, dealer's choice kind of thing. Now, if this is Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen's going to pull him aside and say, hey, when I'm doing this, I'm going to settle in this hole this way, and he's going to listen.
What do you mean by that when you say Keenan Allen's going to tell him?
Keenan Allen is a veteran. To your point, he understands this. He has higher on the ranking board. Now, eventually, Caleb Williams will be able to do this with everybody, but at this stature, and like in that last throw, Keenan Allen's going to tell him, hey, I'm going to go in, but you have to save me from that inside backer. Dot me as soon as I turn, because that's what I expect.
That's why the tape matters between those two.
These are two rookies.
Yeah.
This is new to everybody. So what Rome Odunze is not realizing, even though he sped up his drop, when you put a foot in the ground, you were telling the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. That you're throwing.
Like if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm going to Rome and saying, Rome, when I see your numbers, when I see 15 right there, I'm trying to throw the ball to the back of your helmet. You can't round that ball off. I want to ask you this, J-Mac.
What I love about this is you guys had all that conversation, where you're stopping, where you're starting, and as you go through this play, I want you to pause it as they're continuing to go. Pause it right here. This is the same exact one as the play before. They're rushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. The same exact droppers are in their same spots. We have 2 guys on the outside, 1 guy in the middle, and now he's working to get to the middle of the field. It's the same exact coverage with different guys rushing just to give them a different picture.
I wanted to ask you a question. So if you let that play a little bit, you're going to see DJ Moore one-on-one go route up top, and I guarantee there's fans at Soldier Stadium. Why didn't he throw the ball to DJ Moore on the go route? As that backside safety, I want to ask again, is it hanging a little bit more because of scheme? Or are you hanging a little bit more because I want to make that rookie quarterback not have a clue what's going on?
If I'm this deep safety, I have 3 guys at this side. So the quarterback, you see 3-by-1 backside. I got my best player, my best receiver. I'm going to him.
I'm thinking throw the go route.
So a good middle of the field safety, that's Quandre Diggs. He's a veteran. He says, I'm hanging on the numbers. I'll gradually work myself to the middle of the field. If he wants to try this guy all the way out here, this guy right here, Chidobe Awuzie, he has to earn his money. But I'm protecting my corner up top.
Hawk, I want to bring this back to the beginning, okay? So Keenan Allen, he's that feel guy. So you're saying go back to Caleb and saying, hey, you got to dot me right here, but don't bring me too much. Rome Odunze, we're sitting here having a conversation and saying you got to be exactly where you're. So there's one guy's a rules guy and one guy's a guidelines guy.
Both with the same goal in mind, which is give precise pictures for you to make quick decisions. For Keenan Allen, he knows those answers to the test before Caleb does. The guy's coming outside. If I have if J-Mac is outside of me and he's flowing this way, what I know is his help is here. So I don't have to see that linebacker to know he's there, and Caleb has to know that too. So if I get you here, automatically he's taking that away purposely. Otherwise, if he's inside, I know his help is on this side. So this is where it is. And so for Keenan, Caleb, their whole goal is let's get clear pictures really quickly so we can be precise on these choice routes, quick routes, and third downs.
I like that.
Makes so much sense as a rookie, too, guys. Incredible stuff.